Poseidon, god of the seas, is one of the most famous and revered Olympian gods. This god is also known as the Neptune, his Latin name in Rome. After the Titanomachy, the great war between the gods and titans, the world was shared between the three major Olympian gods. By lottery, Poseidon was given the domain of the seas, a domain that had been controlled by the ancient deities Nereus and Ocean. Although he had sat on the Olympian Council of Gods, Poseidon preferred to live in his underground palace. God carried this trident at all times, the weapon that allowed him to generate earthquakes and create fountains and springs. His weapon was forged by Cyclopes during the war against the Titans and became one of the gods' symbols. The god of the seas paraded on the water, in his chariot drawn by the dazzling animals behind him, a large procession of marine creatures and minor deities. Although being a sea deity, the powers of Poseidon extended beyond his domain. He was also the lord of earthquakes, and earth often trembled when God experienced wrathful moments. Therefore, although they were far from the seas, Greek cities in the interior were not safe from Poseidon's influence. They could endure his earthquakes, but also severe drought when the spring water dried. The ranger interpreted as the signs were no longer positive. Seen by Poseidon, the god of the seas was quite moody. Therefore, those who depended on the sea for their lives, such as sailors and fishermen, offered plenty of things as a sacrifice. So they will safely go through his waters and ensured a safe return back to their families. But such sacrifices did not mean that their wishes attended. After all, when the god was furious, he made no distinction between those who were devoted to him and those who were not. All those who dared to enter his domain while the god was experiencing a tremendous moment ran the risk of being swallowed by the sea. Zeus, noticing his brother's instability was an obstacle to the natural order of things, decided that he needed a wife. Poseidon then joined Aphrodite, who would become the queen of the seas. But conquering his wife wasn't easy, but Poseidon had a priceless help from his dolphin Delphinus, who persuaded Aphrodite to marry his master. With his wife, Poseidon had his son and heir, Trident. Like Zeus, Poseidon also had several extramarital affairs, but much to the lack of his bastard children and his lovers, Aphrodite, although jealous, was not as vindictive as Hera, the wife of Zeus. In addition to Triton, the god had several noteworthy sons. With Medusa, he had Pegasus and the giant Chrysaor, and also the famous heroes. God also gave the rise to a new breed of Cyclopes, including the most famous Polyphemus, whose only was pierced by Odysseus. Due to that, God persecuted the king of Ithaca and the hero of the Trojan War, preventing Odysseus from returning home after the war. Poseidon is also known for his rivalry with his niece, the goddess Athena. The conflicts between the god and goddess grew in size due to the dispute between Athena and Poseidon to decide who would be renowned god in the capital of the region of Attica. Athena was the winner, and decision made by gods. The city became known by the name of Athens. In a different episode, Poseidon possessed Medusa inside the temple consecrated by Athena. The young woman was one of the temple priestesses and was punished for tarnishing the sacred ground. Medusa, once a beautiful woman, was transformed into the creature we know today. Poseidon had a major role in the rebellion against Zeus, who together with the Apollo imprisoned great god. The coup failed, and both Poseidon and Apollo were punished, two efforts to edify the grandest walls of Troy. But due to the eager tone shown by King Lyden of the Troy, who refused to compensate Poseidon for his work, God cultivated hatred for his offspring, and so the god favored the Greeks during the Trojan War. God of the seas is not admired in this day and age as he was in ancient times, but it's fact that he is one of the most renowned gods in the Greek mythology.